Well, welcome to Revelation Happens, May the 5th, 2020. Let's get set up here and see if everything's working. We won't have Danny or anyone here today, although I do have a person that wanted to jump in and ask some questions, which we talked to last Sunday, and she has some more, so I'm trying to find her questions here. At any rate, it was probably relative to the Catholic Church or something like that, I suppose. So here's my channel, Rev9 video on YouTube. And as you can see, we've got some couple of meetings, question and answer. So that's how far we've gotten so far. And Danny might come back next week. Maybe Pastor Ramsey or somebody else will join us. The invitation is open to any pastor who wants to teach. We're looking at Revelation mainly off the things we've already taught, but any prophecies. My site's all about teaching prophecies of the Bible and connecting the dots. So if you go back, here's Paul. He was with us on a couple of them. If you're just going back, you can see I have extensive teachings. You Are God's actually a really good teaching about Christian Israel and the meaning of You Are God's, which means Christian Israel had power with God. Yahweh would protect us as Christ the shield, which started in Genesis 15:1. So, I bring these things up to people, and it's like they've never heard of all of that kind of stuff, and they're almost afraid. And I'm like, well, just go through here and read these, watch these videos and read these documents and so forth that go with them on my website. So here's the website, Anglo Israel, and if you just scroll down, you can find a list of Bible charts, PDFs, and JPEGs. I put on here in the last 10 years, I spent thousands of hours, about 1,000 hours a year, compiling all of these documents, which I wrote by hand, all these JPEGs. And it really comes out to the important one, like the rock was Christ. So basically all you gotta do is click on it like that on my website. Probably eating a lot of my bandwidth for Zoom here, but we'll see if it works. If it doesn't work, we'll find out pretty quick. Okay, and then you just click on it, and then you can, you can't drag it. That's the thing. You have to open it up in a browser if you want to drag it. You got to use scroll bars, but we went through this actually last week and answered some questions from it, but we were looking at it on this most important connection here, which is 2 Samuel 22, 2 or 3. Yeah, the God of my rock, my salvation, tower of refuge, Savior, and shield. Actually, it was shield. And I guess I came back on, this is an older picture. And I think I just came back on here and wrote shield right here. So I need to correct that, but I think I just need to take some more updated pictures of some of my charts where I've, made little corrections on them over time. So I've got the shot. I remember taking it. I was surprised that the one I had on my computer was the newest one. But the point was, is Samuel, in 2 Samuel, chapter 22, it connected the dots on Christ the rock, Christ the shield, and Christ the scepter, or as you can see, God of salvation, God of my rock, tower of refuge, Savior, God of Israel, stone of stumbling. That's an important thing in the New Testament. So Christ is the stone of stumbling, rock of offense, which connects Christ to the rock, the stone, and then Genesis 49:24, it uses the term stone. So the stone was handed to Ephraim and Manasseh, or to Joseph, which transferred to Ephraim and Manasseh, because Ephraim and Manasseh had just been given a prophecy in Genesis chapter 48 to be a great nation and a commonwealth of nations. So that was one of the most important things in the Bible there. That power with God, which came from Jacob when his name was changed to Israel, which is what the term Israel meant, power with God or ruling with God. Either way, it just depends on how it's used. At any rate, his offspring had that power with God. So he transferred that to Ephraim and Manasseh through Joseph's children, and that's right there in 49:24. And then in 49:10, you have the, of course, I think most people accept that that's Christ, the coming from Judah. The scepter of Judah is Christ, who is the King of Judah, the Lion of Judah. Of course, all that connects. So yeah, you just have to look at your quotes and cross references, and that's basically what I've been doing, trying to show people you can always figure out context if you look up your cross references. So and of course everyone should know all the quotes, because the quotes are the things that Christ taught the apostles. So they didn't just come up with all these, they were called illiterate men. So how did illiterate men just quote Job and quote Isaiah and make all these quotes if they were illiterate? That wouldn't make sense if that wasn't true. So at any rate, if no one comes on today, since I don't have anybody else, I was saying I invite pastors to come on that want to teach or discuss anything about prophecy. So I could, I guess, contact some and try to bring a few in, but I've sent a few emails out. Basically, I just tell other people to do that because, I'm not, I've already spent my time teaching it, and I spend most of my time looking up and going through this material, trying to put it together. In fact, put together a good teaching right now, which is kind of apropos for where we're at. We have this problem, it seems, with telling the truth on TV, and I mentioned before that, well, the TV, these news stations on entertainment channels are not truthful. They don't have to be. By law, they don't have to say anything truthful. So why would people watch entertainment TV and then expect the news to come on and all of a sudden change from, the Big Bang Theory or whatever they're watching to being 100% truthful news? They know when they watch Star Trek or Flipper and all this other kind of stuff, whatever they're watching, it's not truthful. But then when they switch over to the news, all of a sudden they think that's truthful. I don't know. But they do. So here, let's kick back. I put on the top of my site, safe, cheap self-treatment to end all viruses. All viruses. Okay, there was a book written back in 1994 called The Cure for All Diseases. All diseases. I don't know what you could do to improve on that title of the book, yet people tend to discount it because it was too simple, using a little zapper, for example. Well, yeah. Let's just go down here and see if there's a zapper down here. Well, you know where it is? It's way on down here, because if you scroll on down, I've got a section on natural healing doctors. And I was mentioning down here that ozone therapy is a unique therapy that heals and detoxifies at the same time. So where we just came from at the top up there, I put some links to Dr. Rowan, who had taken some ozone machines out, and that's how the Ebola bioweapon, or whatever it was, went away. And people remember all that, but they don't remember that Ebola was healed. Well, I mentioned, why can't we just use ozone for all viruses, all bad bacteria, or all fungus infections that we come across? Why don't we just do it for everything? You see, well, here, this is not up anymore. His old website, docrowan.com, which you see here, yeah, he had an article there, ozone cures Ebola. You see it? But now that site doesn't exist. So I think people put pressure on him when he let the cat out of the bag that ozone would kill these viral bioweapons. And you can see there's just a few. Leibowitz does, I think, uh, Santa Monica. Yeah. So I think he practices around the area of LA and Hollywood and all that kind of thing. So people buy these therapies. They just label it anti-aging, but it's anti-aging because it kills all these viruses, bad bacteria that are hiding in your body. A lot of that's just there constantly, and people don't ever deal with it. So they age much faster when they host viruses and bacteria and things in their body. Well, if you kill it off with ozone, you can do it at home. Okay, there's the book, Cure for All Diseases. Let's just pop that up. And while we're popping that up, here's the zapper. Now, this is just one I picked out because it's priced really well and it's a very well made. You can look, you can find a lot of different types of Hulda Clark zappers, they call them. But there's the book, Cure for All Diseases. And she actually wrote, Dr. Hulda Clark wrote The Cure for All Diseases, The Cure for All Cancers, and The Cure for All Advanced Cancers. Now, there's a odd looking one. It calls it the abridged version. And by the way, there are different versions of that book. You wouldn't want the first year, which came out in 1994. You'd want a later edition because she actually wrote, as I recall the story, she wrote or drew a diagram of those zappers. That's just on eBay. She drew a diagram of the zappers in the back of the book, and the first book that came out had the wrong diagram. So anybody that tried to follow that couldn't build it. But they're easy to build. However, this one, particular one, is a very good, there's a good shot of it. It has 3 frequencies. You can see your button on the top. In other words, you got 4 settings on that little slide switch, and the higher one is stronger. The lower one is you don't feel. Actually, I think it's the 15 hertz is the one you feel, and the 30 kilohertz is the one you don't feel. That would be the way it is from looking at it. So it's real lightweight, in other words, and you get it at 15 hertz, and most people can feel that, and it might be a little uncomfortable. So you just plug your leads in on there on top, put a little 9-volt battery in it. Oops, whatever. Hand holds, and you hold those in your hand and do just like it says. You get zapped. Now these are a little bit easier. They go on your wrist and put a little bit of energy through your body, which kills viruses. And you have to do it. It takes about an hour. You have to do 3. You have to do it 3 times. It's one of these things. If you don't do it 3 times, might cause more problems than it solves. So you just plug in the leads there. It's real simple. 9-volt battery. And the battery lasts a long time. So there you go. It's one of the best sellers, MS Strong 1. And you can see it's got 7,800 feedback, and most of that's, most all that's probably zappers, I guess. Probably Z4EX Extreme 3. But he's been selling it for a long time. You can find a lot of other ones, but small, compact, surface mount, latest circuit board technology. You just can't beat that. So, got a lot of things on Green Media Info. It's a good source. 5G wireless safety. Yes, we just had a 5G. I wouldn't call it conference, I'm not sure what it was, but a set of videos that came out telling people about 5G. Here's one of your best places for clean food, organic food, Azure Standard in Oregon, AzureStandard.com. And they deliver to most major cities. You just have to get signed up. They'll have someone running the show there in your city. And you just sign on, order your stuff online. It comes, you go pick it up. And you talk to someone else too. And then for essential oils, Dr. Young Living, essential oils are very important, especially with the ozone. There's protocols, so you need some essential oils, and there's people that talk about it. Dr. McCullough is a really good doctor to watch for a number of things. And he just did, in fact, he just did well, let's say it this way, he just posted it. So he just posted a video with Dr. Rowan recently in the last month or so. So that should be worth watching. And then I have a bunch of other pages on my site. Then I have some things on the only case since Dred Scott on sovereign citizenship, or de jure citizen, that proves out that was a United States Supreme Court case. So, and it was the only one since Dred Scott that where the Supreme Court agreed with her argument that de jure citizens do indeed have unalienable, let's put it that way. It could be inalienable or unalienable. It could be either one. Versus 14th Amendment, citizens, which is called persons. All your laws are written for persons, which are 14th Amendment citizens that only have civil rights. And that's why they have those terms. Those terms mean something, and people just don't understand. They don't read. So here's another case that came in, We the People versus United States. That was from, well, I guess it was heard. Or no, it says they filed it. Okay, yeah, filed it in 2004. That makes sense. So if you want to know some of that, I've got some good links. So we just have war after war after war, and people go and they don't realize that they're destroying their country. And Dr. Mark Skidmore did a really good video on this cover up the $21 trillion, which is just so many things people don't know. So I just put a lot of stuff on here. People can read it and learn, but most people, I guess, watch TV, and I don't. So our conference, I'll have to change this soon. It's going to be October 19th, 2020, assuming. So at any rate, it's been reset for that. So I'll have to update my site here pretty good. At any rate, here's one of the documents that's important for people to understand. My question is, how did the apostles come up with all of these quotes to the Old Testament and quote these verses? How did they know all these verses? How did they know so much in Isaiah? How did they know to quote Job? You've got doctors today that couldn't just go back and quote Job off the top of the head. Or were they had to have the book to quote it, or did they memorize it? Okay, well, Christ quoted the stuff to them, so they could have memorized what he said, and then it was repeated in the books in the New Testament. Well, how many doctors right now could go through and quote all this stuff and quote it in a context that works for the New Testament and the Old Testament? They have to, all that works together. So as they're talking, they have to understand the context of all these things that they're quoting. And if they're illiterate men, then how did they do that? So I've got them laid out here in the New Testament, according to the book, Luke, and then here's your quotes. And most people don't realize there's so many quotes. In fact, I made a joke before. I talked to a pastor before and mentioned there was 300 quotes, and he had no idea there was 300. He just couldn't believe there's that many until I and this chart that showed all these quotes. And of course, they don't necessarily agree with that it's all about the Abrahamic covenant and the prophecies and the new of the second coming are all in the Old Testament. The prophecies of the second coming are not New Testament prophecies, they're Old Testament prophecies. Most all of it is in Jeremiah and Zechariah and Isaiah and whatever. So, oh well, what else to say? And these are the people teaching, and people go and listen, and they don't think it has anything to do with this old stuff back here in the Old Testament. They figure we're done with all that. Yet that's where all the prophecies are. Everything we're experiencing right now is back here in the Old Testament. So I've got I actually opened that right on my website there. That's New Testament in order. So I've got the same thing in the reverse order. Just this way. So in other words, all the quotes from the New Testament that come back to Genesis. So I've got everything in order. And this tells a whole different story when you look at it from this aspect, reading Exodus, for example, and how that connects to the New Testament. It's Acts 7, this is Stephen's defense. So he's talking about all these things back here in Genesis and Exodus, and all these things that happen throughout the Bible. And there it is. That's Stephen right there. He knew all this stuff. So he wasn't illiterate. Most people today couldn't possibly just quote this stuff off the top of their head. They have a hard enough time if they're looking at their Bible. It's got it all written out for them. They didn't necessarily have that when he was standing there talking. Was he reading from a Bible? Was he doing a sermon and looking through his Bible and all the things he had highlighted in his Bible? I mean, come on. Illiterate men. And they went through and quoted all this. Look at this. Everything about the first coming, second coming of Christ, all the prophecies of those events and prophecies of things about Israel people and their history, and they just quoted all that. And you don't have anybody today that can do it. So how did they do it? How did they possibly know all that? Well, obviously they learned all that stuff with Christ when he was here, but they couldn't still possibly just stood there and quoted all that necessarily. So it makes you wonder. Jews against Christ, follower of Christ, the stumbling stone. Yeah, that's the biggest teaching in the New Testament. Never heard anybody point that out. And of course, the royal priesthood is another important one because that brings us to Revelation 1, 6, and 7. So, which prove the point. So, Zechariah, these are actually pretty important. All this here. So you could learn a lot by looking through these and studying this stuff and looking at my videos. And I have all this here already taught, and you can kind of see that I'm showing my kind of highlighted things as I was going along and teaching all this. All right. And then I have, this is an interesting video. The only 2017-2024 eclipse video taken from the exact conjunction spot. Yeah, let me full screen it for you. Wow. All right, so I had one of those filters, except it was the welding lens like you put in one of your hoods for a welding hood with somebody doing welding, and it had to be well, it was supposed to be a specific one. I think I actually got a darker one than what they called for because I placed it over my camera, and then I shot that with it bungeed to the front of my camera basically, And I was the only person there at the exact spot where the conjunction took place. Let's move up a little bit. So here it is, where it's coming in. And it was a weird feeling. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. Really odd feeling. It's like you could feel the sun was out. You could just feel energy, and then when the sun went away, it's like everything around you got real creepy. Being in the middle of the day and it getting dark, as dark as it did in the middle of the day, and then coming back, it was strange. And it looked different. You can see how it kind of remained round as the moon was passing over, and then there it went. So it was kind of strange that when it came back, it was different from that. Yeah, and then I had to put that filter on. So I guess I did the right thing by getting a darker filter. I was worried about it blowing up the camera. But I just happened to be the only one that was at the spot. The spot was actually like right in the front yard of some people, and they knew about it, and they were expecting hundreds of people to show up there, which was kind of weird. And I got there real early in the morning, and ended up being the only one that made it because there was so much traffic. Everything just got shut down. The streets all got so crowded, no one could move. And it all came to a screeching halt. So no one could move. No one could get up and down the freeway. Even the freeway out of through Illinois there, it just came to a screeching halt. People were just pulling off the freeway, but cars had just gotten so many people trying to pull to the side that it just came to a stop, and then for miles, no one got where they were going. Well, I figured it was going to do that, so I guess I got. Oh, here it comes. Yeah, here it comes back. This is where I switch lenses because I didn't need the dark lens when the sun was covered up, but I need a dark lens when the sun comes back. So I had to switch lenses. Very eerie feeling. And I guess, I don't know, get a little lens flare there or something. Reflection. And then it just kept coming. And all of a sudden it just popped in. It's funny, I've got this, the actual video, so we don't need to be watching it on YouTube and dialing up our bandwidth. But it was nice to know that that actually does work. Just pulling that in as a camera. All right, well, that was fun. So the prerequisite for my revelation happens really would be all these old videos starting from really this summary series. Video 1 would be the easiest thing. And that came out pretty good. There's the rockless crash right here. Yeah, yeah. All right. So that's all we need to do today. And we'll see. Just send out some emails to people if you want to know a pastor or a teacher that might want to talk a little bit about the current events, how these things in Revelation I've been teaching for the last 8 years or so are going to play out now. I'm doing a special talk on that here in a couple months with some other people because they're concerned with everything they're looking at that, well, geez, all these things in the book of Revelation may actually be coming true right now. And I'm like, yeah, that's the way I taught it. It's the way other people, I've seen video after video, other people talking about it, that, yeah, they think it's, this is what it describes and all that. Well, I've got to put together a good one, I think, that applies, and I hate to see people just have no knowledge of things, and just especially nothing, no knowledge of prophecy, and everything is there. It's available for them, but they don't know who to watch or who to listen to. But I actually on my stuff, I mean, I actually give you all the quotes, cross references. I show you how it connects. I show you the logic. So my whole idea is it's a study chart. So if people study it and they want to come over here and argue that, well, why would it be this way versus that? Like I said, we have one person in the question and answer. So send me an email and I'll set you up with the link for the Zoom meeting. And you can come in and do it on the question and answer on Sunday and ask your questions. And if you know any pastors or teachers that can debate some of this stuff, want to talk about current events, that's what I started this for, but I just haven't had a whole lot of people on it just yet. So we'll see how that works. But thanks for coming, and we'll do another meeting Thursday. I think Pastor Ramsey will be here. So, all right. See you then. Thanks.